Hey everyone. Okay, my topic is Nearpod in the elementary classroom. So, there we go. This presentation will explain what Nearpod is and how you can use it in your own classroom one day. So, to get started, if we were actually all together, we would start by pausing and thinking about Nearpod. And if you're anything like me, you had no idea what it is or how you use it in a classroom. So we would take a few minutes to think and in 3 sentences describe what you think Nearpod is. And then we would turn and tell the person next to us and listen to their idea as well. So, what is Nearpod? Nearpod is an interactive educational tool that provides teachers with a wealth of resources such as lesson plans, activities for all grade levels. It's a software that can be accessed uniformly on multiple devices and multiple operating systems. It lets teachers use preloaded lesson plans, so lesson plans that are already made. You can customize them or you can make your own. And your students are going to participate in engaging activities throughout the entire lesson with Nearpod. So up next I have, oh no, just kidding. Here are some interesting facts about it. It began in 2012, so it's been around a little while now. It's considered a presentation tool, but it's really so much more than that. The best way I can compare it to something is one of those Swiss Army knives. Like, yes, it's a knife, but it's also a can opener and fingernail clippers. Like, it's so much wrapped into one thing. But it has a lot of interactive features that lets your students be involved in their learning. Like I said, teachers can use lesson plans that are already there or make your own. And you can use animations, videos, and probably the coolest thing is virtual reality for like VR field trips, because we all know that's all the rage right now.
Nearpod works seamlessly with Google Classroom.
This video is from the Nearpod YouTube channel, and it just kind of explains what it is a little bit more thoroughly, I guess, than I could, because it is from the professionals. So
and integrates with learning management systems like Canvas and Schoology.
I can anyway.
Teachers can easily upload their existing PowerPoints, PDFs, Google Slides, and Sways and convert them into interactive Nearpod lessons by including engaging activities like quizzes, polls, draw-its, open-ended questions, fill-in-the-blanks, and 3D objects. And with Nearpod VR, teachers can take their students on a virtual field trip anywhere in the world. Nearpod VR works on any device, with or without headsets. Imagine taking students to the Taj Mahal, the Pyramids of Giza, the Washington Monument, or the Great Wall of China, all from the comfort of your classroom. Teachers launch a live lesson. Students enter a lesson code, and the lesson is synced to all student devices. Teachers can also launch student-paced lessons, which allow students to complete a lesson on their own time wherever they are. Teachers get real-time feedback on student understanding and can access post-lesson reports to assess individual and class performance. Nearpod also has a library of thousands of ready-to-teach, standards-aligned K-12 lessons across all subjects, from a curated list of distinguished publishers and authors, including Common Sense Education, Time for Kids, LearnZillion, ReadWorks, Education.com, and expert K-12 teachers from our Nearpod Authors program. All lessons are editable and customizable to meet the needs of individual teachers and students. Schools and districts have access to special admin features that allow administrators to create and manage a private library of interactive lessons with teachers at their school. Nearpod also has exclusive in-person training and PD to ensure you get the most out of Nearpod's incredible features and
the professional development is another thing that I really did not expect with this. That's a big plus as well, because it's really important to always improve yourself. There's always room for improvement. You can always be a step up. So that was really neat, I thought.
benefits. Nearpod is the complete classroom solution that will transform your teaching and engage your students. Learn more at nearpod.com.
So this really, it's kind of like a game almost. Like, I don't feel like my students will feel like they're learning with this. I think they'll feel like they're playing and enjoy it. It makes me think of those old leap pad or leapfrog like books that you had the pen that you would touch to and it would like talk back and forth with you and interacts with you. It's like that, but the way more technologically advanced, up to date version of it, I feel like. It's just super cool. This is a little tutorial from the Nearpod YouTube channel also. It just covers basic, like how to access it, how to open it, stuff like that. So we'll watch it really quick.
Nearpod
It's only
allows
2 minutes.
teachers to share engaging, interactive lessons with their class and collect real-time feedback from 100% of their students. Let's take a look at a Nearpod lesson in action. On the left, you'll see a teacher view, and on the right, a student view. On the teacher screen, all Nearpod lessons are launched from My Library. To launch a lesson, hover over the lesson you want to launch, then click Live Session or Student Paced. Live Lesson allows the teacher to control the pace of the lesson on all student devices. And Student Paced lets students complete the lesson at their own pace.
So that is a really cool feature I wanted to kind of point out a little more. So you could use this in the classroom, but it could also be like an at-home kind of reinforcement as well. It doesn't have to be all done all together, whole group. You could do it small group, you could do it individually at home. Just, it's so customizable. It's really great. So here we go.
I'll launch a live lesson for this demo. Anytime you launch a Nearpod lesson, a PIN number appears, which you can share with your students via email, social media, a direct link that you can post to your class page or LMS, or Google Classroom. Now that you've shared this PIN with your students, they open the Nearpod app or website and type in the PIN that you just shared.
That's kind of
Now,
like Kahoot.
you and your students are connected. You'll notice that I can see my students who have logged into the lesson on the class roster icon on my teacher screen. When I advance through the lesson on my teacher dashboard, the student's lesson progresses as well. When I arrive at an assessment activity, I can view student answers as they submit them. Then I can share student answers back with the class. This allows me to highlight exemplary responses, showcase different approaches to a problem or question, or correct common misconceptions.
I really like also that you can share the answers that your students have created, because like they said, if you have a majority of your group that has misunderstood a common point, then you can kind of address it as a whole as it's happening, so they don't realize that they're thinking incorrectly when it's too late, after the test or something like that. So this is real time. You can nip it in the bud as it happens. Or also, on a positive note, if some of your students are struggling and you see that some of them have kind of a different approach to how they've found the answer or solved the problem, you can pull that up and share that with other people. Because I know that was always a big help for me, is hearing how other people thought. If I wasn't quite getting it the way it was presented to me, maybe someone else had a different way to show or say, and it would really bring it out for me. So I like that a lot with this.
I can also share multimedia activities with my students, like videos or Nearpod virtual field trips. These are included in Nearpod's ready-to-teach lessons from the Nearpod store, and you can easily incorporate these activities into Nearpod lessons that you build yourself. With Nearpod quizzes, student responses are automatically graded. Then I can share back the results for instant feedback and reflection. Once my lesson is over, I can access student responses via the Reports tab for reflection on my teaching practice, for documentation, or for a grade in my gradebook.
Okay, so I really like also that it culminates everything into one report at the end of the lesson, or however, because that's That's the important part. That's how you know whether you have covered something thoroughly, whether you need to cover it again, whether you need to move on. Like, it shows how you do and how you need to do better. So I really like that it's all in one, all on the Nearpod page for you. You don't have to go back and forth or log into something else. It's all right there. So simple, so simple. Okay, so what's the big deal with this? The biggest thing for me is that you can do so much with this, and it's so simple. When I first started this, I was like, oh my goodness, this is going to be so complicated and difficult. I'm never going to figure it out. But it's so easy. It's You present something, you can interact with it, you can add or take away from it. It's so easy to do. Customizable is for sure the best part. I like that your students will always be active throughout this lesson, and I like that everyone can be synced up on the same page at the same pace, but if it's necessary, they can also work at it in their own time. And I like that you can take something that's already been made and tweak it to fit your own classroom, because let's talk about how hard it is to come up with 5 lesson plans 5 days a week, like for every kid, for all your kids' needs. It's hard. So this really helps. Um, how should I use Nearpod? So Nearpod is obviously a presentation tool, but it's also an assessment tool, because with all these features you can add in, you can constantly assess your kids and see where they are at each point of the lesson. There's polls, drawing boards, quizzes, Q&A, like all kinds of things. And the coolest thing is the virtual field trips, in my opinion anyways. I just love that. I love VR stuff. One of the articles I looked at was Continuous Real-Time Assessment of Every Student's Progress in the Flipped Higher Education Classroom Using Nearpod by Michael D. Mattei and Elizabeth Ennis. So it talks about the assessment features, and I'll just get right into that. Some of the options for the assessment features you can add are Q&A, quiz, poll, draw it, and browse the internet. So question and answer, quizzes, and polls are pretty self-explanatory. You can customize them so they're multiple choice, constructed response, fill in the blank, just whatever suits your kids' needs. We talked about how teachers can share answers and how that's helpful. And probably my favorite one of these is the draw it feature. So you can either start with a blank page or draw on an existing image. The example the article gave was a picture of the human skeleton, and the students would locate and mark certain bones, specific bones in the skeleton. And I was thinking, it doesn't even have to be like a specific lesson, but what if you had your students presented with the map of the school, and you guys could go over like where to meet, where you're supposed to go if there's a fire drill, where you're supposed to go if you're outside of your classroom and there's a lockdown, just like mark specific places. And that way it'll be kind of fun for them, but it's also important stuff that they need to know if it were to come up. So the next one was Using Nearpod in Elementary Guided Reading Groups by Stacy Delacruz. And obviously use it in small groups, but one of the main things that I thought was great is Nearpod can really help out schools that may be on lower budgets that rely on a bring your own device plan, because regardless of the operating system or device, you can sync it up and use it. I know this would have been really great in my last practicum placement, because my kids were always bringing their own devices because we didn't have enough for everybody. So this would have been really cool. It can also replace those leveled readers like in your small groups. You know what I'm talking about? Those books that are really just so boring. So you could use this to replace that. And not only for like reading levels, but you can design it so it focuses on certain skills. Like the example in the article was main idea. So you could get all your main idea kids in one group and focus on that and then rotate them out. Oh, I need to hurry. It's a really great presentation tool. It's helpful for bringing your own device plans, and there's just so much you can do with so little.